That's always bad when that happens. It's here somewhere, don't worry. It always comes back, I hope.
Eventually.
Sometimes you have to wait. Sometimes you have to be a little patient with it. I guess I could write with black for a while. It'll pop up, I think. If not, we'll just write in black. I saw something flash. Black's not my most favorite color. Right on top of this piece of paper, halves. 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 I'm in trouble with the board today. Halves. I think I need to calibrate. Halves. So just go ahead. Not half. With the V, half. And the book is trying to get you to figure out with fractions, fifth graders, when you talk about fractions, one good thing to do with fractions is to figure out if they are equal to a half, or if they're bigger than a half, or if they're smaller than a half. And how would you know that? Let's take, for example, if I have this fraction here, 8/16. Would that fraction be bigger than a half, smaller than a half, or the same as 1/2? And how do I know? And maybe it would be good for you to go back and think about what does the bottom number do to something? If you have a circle and you cut it into 16 pieces, what's that, 8? I'll get 16 out of it. I missed that one. I'll get 16 pieces out of this. If I color in 8 of those 16 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I colored in this part of it. Is that greater than, less than, or equal to half? Elliot is?
Equal.
And how do I know? Because I don't want to have to draw pictures every time I look at a fraction. How do I know if a fraction is equal to a half?
Because 8 is half of 15.
Exactly, and that's what you should write on your little piece of paper there, is this. If the top number, which we call the what?
The numerator.
Numerator. If the numerator is exactly half of the bottom number, which we call the
Denominator.
denominator, the fraction is half. So let's see if this works here. If I gave you, if I said the bottom of a fraction had 20 as its denominator, what number would have to go on top to make it equal to a half? Right?
10.
10. Now, if I got really tricky and I said the top number was 7, what would the bottom number have to be for it to be equal to a half? Sam? 14. So it's pretty easy. And then, based on that, you can tell if a fraction's bigger or smaller than a half by looking at both its top and bottom number. If I have 9/11, will that fraction be more than a half or less than a half? If I gave you 9/11ths of a pizza, did you eat more of it or less than it? And then how do you know? River?
More than
Because,
it's
because this number is way bigger than half of 11, even though half of 11 is 5.5. You know this is way bigger than 11, so this has to be much, much, much bigger than a half. Or if I gave you this fraction, 1/5, is 1/5 bigger, smaller, or equal to a half? Kevin Wills, what would you say? 1/5, how does that compare to a half?
It's smaller
Why?
because, it's only one of the circle.
Right, well, it's only 1/5 of the circle, but again, just look at the top and the bottom. You know that half of 5 has to be more than 2, right?
Yeah.
So since this is way less than half of what 5 is, this has to be less than 1/2. They may give you something like this, maybe they won't. Oh, here they go. They might give you these two fractions. How does 5/8 compare to 5/12? How would 5/8 compare to 5/12, and how would I know? Well, right now, later on we'll do some complicated stuff that'll tell you that, but right now, the first thing you wanna do is compare, how do they compare to a half? 5/8 is bigger, smaller, or equal to a half? Connor,
It's bigger
why is it bigger?
because, 12, because 5 is closer to 8 than 5 is closer to 12.
Well, no, you're not worried about, we're not looking at this one yet at all. I just want you to think about this one. How does this one compare to a half? It's bigger than a half, why?
It's bigger than a half because 5 plus 5 equals 10, so
Okay, I see where you're going there. Half of 8 is 4, and since 5 is bigger than 4, you know this has to be bigger than a half. 5/12, Trevor, is bigger or smaller than a half.
Listen,
Why?
because 5 is
Because 5 is what? You're close, I can see it's there. Carolina, because 5 is, yes, because 5 is less than half of 12, this fraction has to be less than half. So you know if this one's bigger than a half, and this one's smaller than a half, how do they compare? River? 5/8 has to be bigger than 5/12, just based on that. You don't need to know anything else than that. How about this one? 12/24 or 6/12. You're comparing 12/24 to 6/12. Greater than, less than, or equal to? Jonah Winkleman? Why? Okay, 12 is half of 24, so that is the same as a half, and this one, 6 is half of 12, so it is the same as half, so they're both the same as having halves. And that right there will get you through all sorts of stuff. Wait to see if there's anything else there. So consider yourselves experts on halves of